Premise reporting here. This is Sole Premise here with Will. We're going to be debuting the Sole Premise shoe bag.
Sole Premise is the only way to travel.
Hey everyone, this is Jay from Sole Premise, Jay Pizarro. You're listening to the Sole Premise podcast, the show that takes a deep dive and highlights entrepreneurs and brands that are dedicated to following their sole premise in life. Now, whether it's the sneaker industry, the music industry, sports and entertainment, or just the business and entrepreneurship side of things, we'll have no holds barred, no pulled punches, conversations on the hottest topics and the biggest controversies that some of these guests that we have faced in their rise to the top. Now, joining me at the host table today is a music producer and hip hop culture aficionado, Massachusetts' own Jay Blanco. Jay, please say what's up to the culture.
All right. What's going on? What's going on, world? It's the one and only Jay Blanco, coming straight from the 508, joining forces with the only company you should ever secure the bag with, Sole Premise. But not only they do it for the culture, but anyone who wants to get in their bag, pun intended.
That was way too easy, man.
Way too easy.
We've got an incredible lineup of guests. So please, everyone who's listening, subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcasts, so you don't miss a single episode or a single guest. These conversations are going to be lit. And also subscribe to our YouTube page, Sole Premise. Very simple, Sole Premise across the board. And that page is going to include some video content, some documentaries that are associated with the Sole Premise brand family.
Right.
Everything from some of our brand ambassadors on the documentary side to some behind the scenes, and some of our podcasts as well will be showing on our YouTube page. So today we're actually talking to the man that's made all of this possible, created this platform, the inventor, founder, president, CEO, and now also host of the Sole Premise podcast, who revolutionized the sneaker industry with his signature patented travel bag design, which we'll talk about. We're going to discuss everything there is to know about the reason behind his invention, the journey he's been on following his sole premise in life, right, and also what the future holds, which I know you're curious about. I have a little bit of insider on a little bit of that because, I work hand in hand with Anthony. He's a really, really cool guy. What are you most curious about to talk to him? Because we're going to bring him on in a little bit to chat with us. What do you think, Jay?
I mean, I'm curious to just see where he started from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like the bottom up, just to get like a good background on him. I mean, dude's a good guy. You know what I mean? He's a phenomenal human being. But I want the world to really know where Sole Premise came from. You know what I mean? That people, people make brands and they think, oh, it's just a brand. It's a facade. He's not just a facade, it came from somewhere, you know what I mean? And I want him to just explain that to the world and really get in tune with him.
Yeah, I mean, without taking too much thunder from him, it's a struggle. It's always a struggle. Anybody who's out there who's listening, who's an entrepreneur, a business owner, who's created a brand, I'm sure you can even speak to it in creating your brand as Jay Blanco in the music industry.
Right. I mean, the name changed.
Name changes.
A lot. I rebranded a lot.
Yeah, all that stuff. It's a struggle.
I mean, just trying to find yourself.
Yeah.
And he found himself. And he got himself in a lane that he's comfortable. And I mean, I want to hear all about it.
So we're going to take a quick second just to kind of get a little sneak peek at what Sole Premise is all about for those who don't know. And we'll be right back with Anthony Fernandez.
Get in your bag.
Sole Premise bags are a revolution in the travel world. You have a signature design that lets you carry up to 5 pairs of shoes, laptop, clothes, and more. You also have the commuter, which lets you hold 2 pairs of shoes, laptop, clothes, and you have the duffel, which is the perfect weekend bag that has 2 shoe compartments in the bottom. Every Sole Premise bag was created to be unique and functional in order to keep you ready. With over 30 different colors to choose from, Sole Premise is the only way to travel.
Welcome back to the Sole Premise podcast. As promised, we have in studio Anthony Fernandez. Anthony, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Happy to get this off the ground, and the idea of doing a podcast or any kind of entertainment value that kind of resides back to the business is something I've always wanted to do. We've talked to you before, and also our guy that has done an amazing job for us, Chase. We've talked a lot about the idea of doing a whole Sole Premise media division of our company, because I feel like one of the biggest things that's a great appeal is the idea of telling a story. And I think one of the things that we can do here is really tell a story through some of the stuff we kind of talk about here. So
now you're generally not a very public front of camera person. You like to be the worker, be behind the scenes. So are you ready for that? I know you have the J squared here to kind of buffer that and be the co-host to your.
You ask if I'm ready, but I think the question is the world ready?
I know that's not.
Though?
I know that's not.
Hey,
it.
So no, I mean I've only done that just because part of being an entrepreneur that people don't talk about is the work that's involved, and often when you have to put in the work and the hours and the time, the idea of being in front of a camera is just extra time that takes you away from the craft.
That makes sense.
So, I just know how to put in the work and do the diligence of what it requires, and anything else besides that, it just seems like it's just an obstacle, or unfortunately, what I've really seen in today's world is just noise, right?
Yeah.
Like it's noise away from the ultimate goal, which is achieving the end goal of just winning, and in some way of that winning process is just getting to that point of where you get to a point of not success, but like where you get completed that task that you're trying to complete. A great example, we're in the process of developing our new camo line. Part of that is redesigning several aspects of that bag or several of our bags, and within doing that, you have to stay laser focused into getting to that point,
Right. So let's go ahead and jump in real quick, because for those who aren't listening and aren't familiar with Sole Premise, I don't know how that's possible at this point. But maybe I'm biased. Right. But what is Sole Premise, and what makes Sole Premise bags different? What makes them unique?
Sole Premise is a company that elevates the way you get from point A to point B. I pretty much consider us the Wilson, if you would, like in Tom Hanks, of your partner in crime, no matter where you go, what you're doing, and how you plan to get there. Whether it's going to the gym, going on a 3 or 4 day adventure, whether it's taking a 10-day trip across the country, wherever it is that you're going, we want to be your companion. And truthfully, we token that idea of we're the only way to travel, but we're more than just travel. Travel is not even the consideration of, we naturally think travel is just going to a destination, a final destination, but it's much bigger than that. It's whether your daily travels, you need a bag that goes with you everywhere you go.
I mean, of course, man, that's brilliant. So what made you think to put this bag on the market?
Ideally, what it really took for me was recognizing that there was a void in the market. I had a bad experience. I went to Puerto Rico, and TSA went through my bag, opened up everything, and they opened my cologne and they opened my gel, and it got everywhere. And
Yeesh.
We got to the hotel, and I recognized, man, I've got to change this whole scenario, and for one, never let this happen to me ever again.
Right.
And
I've been there.
To take it a step further, what I also recognized was the idea that you have to have a solution for a problem that exists, and the problem was exactly what we're talking about, right? Sneakers were a problem. I recognize I invested way too much money for my sneakers to be ruined.
What got ruined on that trip? Do you remember what got ruined?
I don't remember the shoe. I remember it was
because it had to be good for you to be like, oh hell no, I'm going back and I'm making a bag. This ain't happening again.
It more came to the idea that I felt like I was I don't want to say like somebody was like taking my stuff, but like they were going through my stuff, and I didn't want to ever have to deal with that. You know?
Yeah.
So that was more the first and foremost thing was like, man, I kind of felt like I was
violated.
Violated some weird. It was kind of weird. So I was like, well, I needed to get rid of that stuff. I was like, I need to find a way to get away from that.
Right? Yeah. No.
And
TSA does that too. They do not care. They have their rules. They have their orders.
You're better than me.
They
man.
do their job.
They didn't mess my stuff up.
They
actually threw my stuff away.
So much so though that they actually have a show on that.
Yeah, no, 100%. I don't know if it's still on.
It's like cops.
It's called To Catch a Smuggler. And
right.
Truth be told, last week I was watching it, and a guy that was going to Puerto Rico actually had our red signature bag. So
it was not the smuggler, though, right?
It was not.
Oh, thank God.
He's in the clear, guys. And guess what? He didn't have to worry about TSA going through his stuff.
All right,
so that was part of the whole thing.
Right,
so.
Right.
I mean, to kind of sum it back up, I mean, yeah, at that point I recognized everything in there, whether it was a sneakers or not. But then I also recognized at that given moment, I always had trouble with my sneakers, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, well, how can I take away the idea of sneakers being a problem? And then, truth be told, you always hear these crazy stories of entrepreneurs having epiphanies come to them. Well, I had an epiphany in my sleep of a design in my head that would work, because I also looked at the idea of how sneakers sat in a box.
Right.
And I recognized that is what the originator or who manufactures it says is the best way for it to sit. So why shouldn't it sit like that in an actual bag?
My dad travels with his sneakers in boxes. Yeah. Like he'll throw 4 or 5 boxes
as you
in
should,
his
because
bag.
it provides you protection.
Yeah,
right?
He does not throw them in bags.
But the problem is that boxes are not created equal.
No.
So that was a problem. So long story short, I designed the idea of having those compartments and all that kind of stuff, and conceptually was amped about the whole idea. But to manufacture it took over a year to even get close to where it even resembled my drawing and my conceptual.
And that's what was patented, right? The actual compartments and
everything, the design in its entirety.
Without getting into too much, craziness, because I'm sure it was wild. But what was that process like? Because a lot of people, that's short and sweet and to the point. Yeah, the patent process,
expensive.
Yeah,
terrible, confusing. Gray areas in regards to what they consider to be similar or not, or
proprietary, right?
Yeah,
as they like to say.
I think the United States is not set up for you to succeed in getting a patent unless you have financial backings that can really allow you to push the envelope to say, no, this is what it is, this is how it appears, and really fight the fight. So I thank you guys, listeners, for helping Sole Premise get the patent, because without the support of you guys, I don't know if I could financially ever have endured that fight, and
right.
They supported the grind.
Yeah, man. Honestly, like at some point I was like, man, maybe I should just give up on that idea of getting a patent, because it just seemed like it was always such a difficult thing.
Some kind of roadblock.
And honestly, that's why you guys see a lot of people, whether it's on Shark Tank or any of these other third-party shows or even online, say patent pending, is because that pending process
is serious.
Is years.
So
years.
2 points there.
Yeah.
You did. I don't know if you want to name names or anything, but you did come in contact and come into an encounter with a shark in that process.
Yeah. I actually came in contact with Mark Cuban and John, Damon John.
Yeah, but I mean in the patent process.
Oh yeah. I did. Yeah.
Okay. And you won.
I did win. Yeah.
That's a big deal, man.
That's a big dub. Let's give a round of applause for that.
I mean,
that's a big feat.
But I think if anyone could conceptually see the product and see what it provides and how it's positioned, you can see its unique assets that it provides, that it's not like anything else on the market. And I think that's what the biggest takeaway for me was, that it seemed evident at first glance, and even as you dug deeper, that everything that was conceptually designed for this product was completely different than anything else. I think we all draw inspiration from something. But the idea is to always make something better, bigger, and again, going back to my original point, if you ever want to do anything in this world, you got to provide a solution to a problem. If you're able to successfully do that, you always will have a market, because people hate problems.
Yeah,
and everyone wants a solution.
So before we move on, then what do you think would be a solid, important tip to give somebody who's watching or listening that is who's got an idea, has got a particular design, and is about to jump into the patent process, just to save them headaches along the way? I know it's a big question, because
save your money. Make sure that you're prepared to do multiple steps and multiple years of due diligence, and do prior research before doing a patent, because a lot of times you'll see all the patents that have been filed, and you can actually have a patent agent do a lot of the research for you and discover all the potential hiccups that may come along the way. But there's really nothing to prepare you for that kind of stuff.
And you went with an agent versus a lawyer.
Yeah. I mean, they're both the same deal. One just has a degree that's specifically derived to, I think there's like a year different of education and stuff like that. Or I forgot what the intrinsic difference is, but it's almost identical to the way
and then
it's
the
filed.
cost was a big difference.
Actually, it's substantially lower.
Okay.
Oh wow.
But I mean, yeah, because
write that down.
Anytime you pay an attorney, it's always going to be that much more. Right. And I didn't even do that by choice or by reluctant effort. I just happened to just come across someone who was really good at filing patents, and I felt like the person was really passionate about making sure that the clients that they have And as long as they found that it was not infringing upon someone else's, designs,
Yeah.
that they were really passionate about making sure that their success rate was high for themselves. They held themselves to a standard,
Nice.
So whenever we got the patent, he was almost more excited than I was.
Right.
So that's a big deal. Like when you work with people, and that's another great tip, you want to work with people that are more excited about what you're doing than you are at times. I'm not saying that's going to be every person you work with, but they can't be lackluster in the idea of you succeeding, and what is it? Show me your friends and I'll show you my future.
Yeah.
Same thing, same mentality. Show me the people that are working beside you and I'll show you my future. I mean, that's a big deal. Whether that's hiring or that's even doing a venture like this of filing a patent, you have to find the right people around you.
All right. So now that your brand has grown to this, and I'm seeing Soul Premise everywhere, social media, YouTube, everything, right? So how important is social media marketing in growing your brand?
I think that depends on where you want your brand to go, right?
Right.
I think it's important and I think it's critical, but I also think it's at the phase of where you are in the business, right? A lot of people don't see value because there's different things that they're trying to attain or different goals. Hey, I see more success in brick and mortar, or I find things more presentable with my product to do it in person and have things hand on hand and stuff like that. I get told every day, hey, you should have a brick and mortar. Hey, you should have a brick and mortar, which, ideally we will have it here soon and something we're working on that we'll share more about as we come along. But ideally, it's really what your goal is, right? And I think what you're financially able to afford. Again, This goes back to the idea that you have to have an opportunity to financially support these thought processes. Because, at the end of the day, you can want to file a patent, you can want to do social media marketing, you can want to be have Michael Jordan rocking your product.
That'd be nice.
But that all costs.
That'd be great.
That all comes at a cost.
Right. Everything costs money.
And honestly, the market share for what people value now has gone up.
Right.
So you put those two together, and it's like, okay, well, for someone who's a small business, for instance, that's getting things off the ground, we're talking about just realistics.
Right.
Most small business owners do not do advertising or social media marketing.
And you encourage it
for that given reason. I encourage it, but I think it also, I can't speak to the financials of other people.
Right.
So maybe it's more important that you do something else that also could counterbalance that opportunity. Okay,
I see what you're saying.
So, and really what it comes down to is, it works well for my market, but that doesn't mean it works well for theirs.
Right.
There's the guys that I work with that have done auto parts. Yes, that'll work well in a YouTube stage, but I'm not sure that's going to work well in an Instagram stage.
True.
So, again, I think it just goes back to
a lot of trial and error there.
So there's a market for different platforms or vice versa or whatever you're saying.
Yeah. Like a great example, that would maybe work on a TikTok where somebody saw a great muffler that sounds better or something like that, or exhaust.
Right.
That would work well on a TikTok because, hey, look, man, that car sounds phenomenal. Let me buy that now,
Yeah.
So it's all depending on the market and how you visually can see it. But I think more so where things are different is you have to see it before the next person does. And I think that's an unwritten rule that I've understood as I've gotten older and I've done things more is I think everyone has a hidden talent. And one of the few things that I've been able to conceptually see with Soul Premise and where it's kind of helped my brain is I see a void where most people don't see a void.
Okay.
And I'm able to kind of see things where they're not. And that's not me boasting by any means. I just think that I'm able to kind of see how, because I've always studied how people consume things. And I think the idea of how the consumption, whether it's consuming of a physical product or how you see a commercial and then react to it, or how you see social media scrolling up and saying, hey, I want to do something with that, or how do I conceptually in turn see myself reacting to that? Do I swipe up? Do I think it's cool? Do I keep going? That's why I've had a love and hate relationship with TikTok.
Right. We haven't even dove into that yet.
It's a forgetful mentality of like, it's too much of like that rise in fame that kind of just can completely explode within a minute.
Right.
And I love the idea that you can have a level of success pretty instantly. But the idea is in business, it's not just to have instant success; it's to have longevity.
Okay.
And
so that makes it a kind of a constant project where you constantly have to be putting out that. We have to like employ our stepkids to do the TikTok side because they have the time and the energy.
And like you said, the levels of creativity have to continue to flow, and it's like, how do you continue to reinvent the wheel every single time, and how do you present it? It just seems like it's too much of a faddish mentality that is just so short-lived that I think that your efforts may show for a short period and then just tickle down.
So maybe on TikTok, just an ad then, not an actual account, maybe just posting an ad because everyone's on it.
I don't think I have the right recipe for TikTok. I just think that I don't think that I could even conceptually see a business model revolved around it.
Right. You probably wouldn't be missing out considering
I think there's a success there, right? I think there's definitely something that's there.
No, of course.
And obviously businesses see it as well.
Right.
I just don't know if there's a long tenure, right? Like the same thing with Vine and all these other third-party things that used to do. The problem was it was just an instant success. You move on, and then that's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Now, there is something to be said, though, with them having to, I think we've talked about this a couple of times, which is really what pushes us in that direction, because TikTok a few years ago had to kind of change their platform to add the revenue side because of the amount of business or influence that was coming from
through,
some of these guys, where when they first came out, there was no way to pay people. There was no way to sell product. There was no way to do anything like that. So there's something to be said for that. If a company is going to change their platform that drastically to add that aspect,
something to flip your mindset with that. What they realized is they had to find a way to monetize their business, right?
Yeah.
It's exactly what happened with Instagram, right?
True.
Instagram was a successful platform that everyone loved before it became an advertising platform. Now that it is, it's now become a lack of utilization, right?
Right.
People now just see that, hey, 1% of my people see my stuff, or I have 41,000 followers, but 200 people maybe like my picture.
Right.
It's like the level of interaction that used to be is what people are longing for. And what happens is that you can actually stray away from the core function of your product by trying to monetize that idea. So it's always hard to do that on a platform of that nature, because then you can disenchant your audience because they know that the visibility they once had may not be something that can last forever.
yeah. Well,
So
mindset flipped.
Yeah.
Mindset flipped. You're right. You're 100% right in that regard.
it's the hardest problem is like you build something that's successful, but then you find a way, okay, well, how does the company pay for itself? Because, the hardest thing, and this is where a lot of people don't realize, a majority of these companies we're speaking about have yet to flip a profit. Uber is not even profitable as a company.
Wow.
They have
Really?
They're the most unprofitable business there is.
Oh my God.
Got me.
But meanwhile, they took out an entire industry. So they took out an entire industry by taking an L.
Right.
I mean,
Because who does
they-
taxis anymore?
because-
Nobody does
because
taxis
cabs
anymore.
here.
Yeah, cabs here. None of that.
I mean, yeah, guys, yeah.
Cabs here.
Uber's here.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, there should be from a marketing standpoint, if I'm a cab company, I hire him right now.
Cabs here. Yeah. Oh, 100%.
Oh, man.
In fact,
Yeah.
I would do an Uber type mentality called cabs here
Oh, man. Look at you.
with him as the face.
We said it first, people.
We said it first.
I don't want no one taking our stuff.
Don't with it. Don't with it. We
All
will
right,
come
cabs
after
here.
you.
Coming soon, 2024.
You can find me at soulpremise.com.
Exactly. Okay, so those are big business decisions, but if we take it back to the way beginning, Anthony, where are you from, and where does this entrepreneurial spirit and mind and drive come from?
Man, it comes from just being around it. My grandfather was always an entrepreneur. He sold baseball cards and basketball cards when it was a thing.
Okay.
And he always had a million jobs. So I always saw him working, and I was like, man, this guy's doing it. He's able to have whatever life he wants, considering that, he puts in a lot of hours and he's not scared of the work. So I gathered that from him. And then early on, I did a pressure washing company in my neighborhood, made hella money that I was able to buy my first car. Also did a ton of landscaping and made everything I needed to make for that summer in 1 month.
Good deal.
And I put that all towards a car. And then I always was just finding a way to kind of be nifty and just, I think it all goes back to entrepreneurs are great salespeople. So you're able to sell yourself and sell whatever you're making and make it larger than life that people want it. And I think that's an opportunity for you to maximize. But yeah, the entrepreneur spirit came from my grandfather, and I took it as a thing. And, transparently, it continued through college, where I actually designed and I wanted to do it. I never put it to market, a quick drying towel. Because, as you work out, you're tired of like that nasty towel you're using because it's always wet.
Right.
I don't work out that
I always
hard.
said it was disgusting.
I don't work out that
I'm
hard.
a lie and say I
I
do.
am not
Hey,
in your target
right
market.
now, we're setting a challenge for Jay. 60 days from today.
Yoked.
Shredded
Come in
to
here,
pieces.
yoked.
Yo,
But no, I hated
just like OG Grandpa. You know what I'm saying?
Man.
No, I mean, all jokes aside, so then I thought, I was like, man, that's gross. So I wanted to create a quick drying towel.
Okay.
That as you're working out, you don't have to worry about
That
that.
ended up
sweat.
coming out. You were a part of that.
No, I mean, there's materials that do that, but it's rough. It's not something you want to put on your
It's not,
face.
it's
Oh,
not
okay.
the Tony way.
Yeah.
It's been done, but not the Tony
It's
way.
like that ShamWow stuff. There's
okay.
but
I'm
they're
gonna
not-
leave.
Yeah,
I'm
you
not
can-
trying myself
and
with
you can
ShamWow.
you can wring those towels out. I didn't like the feeling of that.
I feel like they use those on.
That's the
never
bougie
mind.
Anthony
Okay.
that wasn't having that. But no, I mean, so I wanted to call the company Sweat Away. That was the company.
look
That
at
was
that. Okay.
Sweat Away. Yeah.
So we've got two dormant business ideas. Did because you went to UCF, you
Yeah,
were
I
in
went
the
to UCF, yeah.
that DeVos business
Yeah,
program.
DeVos,
Yep,
yep.
DeVos. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're good.
And did some of that in school kind of projects?
No.
None of that.
No.
Everything was just kind of like.
I made some great relationships with no.
Shout out to UCF.
yeah, shout out to
It
UCF.
was totally worth it.
No, I mean, I felt like I was able to find myself and learn how to manage my money, manage my time, manage projects. But at the same time, no, I feel like 75% of what I learned at school could have been done online or been shortened into one semester. So that way I'm not wasting some of my youth. Because I think where youth is definitely better utilized is by being out in the field.
Right.
And doing things hands-on.
Hands-on.
Right.
Yeah. I was gonna say that.
Because I approached my freshman year, I approached the DeVos company and I was like, hey, or the program, and I said, hey, I want to get involved. We're like, well, we don't have a minor, we only have a master's program. I'm like, well, what about for me? I want to be a part of this, like yesterday. And they eventually ended up opening the minor up, and that was fantastic. And I was part of the minor, and it's been great relationships from that aspect. This from the DeVos program, absolutely. The business management side, maybe not as much. So I take that back. The DeVos program was definitely more of a utilization because we got out there. I spoke to the right people. I was able to meet people, and I learned what I liked and didn't like, which is what you should be doing in college.
Right.
Right. Like I'm
Testing
spending
the waters.
I'm spending all this money, and people come out of college upside down and
Yeah.
financially.
Yeah. For sure.
They put you in a financial pickle as you leave, as you're a kid
Yeah.
trying to figure your life out.
I've definitely told people that before when they're in college like
yeah.
that. They can't be timid with what they want, what they
I
want
know
to
people with
learn, what they
degrees that
want to
ain't
do.
doing anything that they got a degree for.
Well, you are
what I mean?
paying for that.
Because you don't
Right.
even, I mean, I think there's a statistic, I don't know what it's like 40 or 50% don't even use their degree
Yeah.
Right.
towards anything. So it's just, I mean, I hate to say it in this matter, especially on a public platform, but
Sole Premise reporting here.
Thank you so much for watching the Sole Premise Podcast. If you'd like to finish the rest of this episode, please go to one of your preferred podcast platforms and look up Sole Premise.